Welcome, everyone, to the Unmuted Podcast. My name is Jeff Waldman, the host of the Unmuted Podcast, and I'm also the founder of Scale HR. We'll get into that soon, but we're going to do something a little bit differently here. Usually I'm the host, and yes, I am kicking this off, but we're going to reverse this thing. My guest, Jessica Smith, who is going to join us in a, she's... So, let me just start it again. So let me just tell you how this works. So you see both of us now, but I actually record two separate videos, right? So that I can bring you in and out. So when I edit it, okay. So let me do this again, okay? All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Unmuted Podcast. My name is Jeff Waldman, the host of the podcast and also the founder of Scale HR. We have a really interesting show today. It's a little bit different. Because usually I'm the one asking the question, and then I have a guest that answers the question thing, offers some really cool insight, but we're going to do it differently. I am going to be the guest, and my guest is going to be the host. If you can't figure it out, that's your problem. Hopefully you'll figure it out soon enough. But I want to welcome my guest, who is going to transition to host very shortly. Jessica Smith from Savant, did I say it right? Savant, Recruitment, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but she's going to tell us all about it, but this is actually her show. It's going to be on the Unmuted Podcast. We'll launch it at some point in the next couple of weeks, but I am going to hand it over to you. Go.
Okay. All right, sounds good. All right, hi everyone. I'm Jessica Smith from Savant Recruitment. I have been a technical recruiter for literally the last 11 years. Started Savant Recruitment 2 years ago, and it has been wild. And I have been running into a lot of different things with startups, a lot of problems that we had in 2023. And I want to sit here and I want to address it, because we can't continue to go down this path in 2024. And so Jeff Waldman is, the founder and CEO of Scale HR. I've been to a few of his events. He hosts them within the HR community. They are awesome. And I made Jeff a partner, because the problems that I'm seeing in the startup community with leadership teams and the amount of leadership training that needs to happen, this was a no-brainer for me. And so for me, I wanted to sit Jeff down, because he's been really working on his business and making numerous changes to really make Scale HR what it is today. Not only does he have huge reach in the tech community, but this is probably our number one problem right now that we're facing. And Jeff is really going in and diving head on to really solve this problem. So again, no brainer for me bringing him into my business. Wanted to chat about a couple things that startups are dealing with, and just basically take it from there and talk to Jeff about how he's addressing some of these issues and what Scale HR is doing, and how a partnership, not only with Savant Recruitment, but how having him come into your business to make sure that you scale it properly makes sense. So, Jeff, first question. A lot of what I saw last year dealt with a lot of different people. You're always going to deal with different people on leadership teams. But some of the problems that we saw in 2023, I wanted to address, the talented jerk. And I wanted to know how you've dealt with that.
Talented jerk. How much time do you have?
I got all day. I don't know how much
you got all day. Well, I don't.
But I think this is such a pressing issue. Here, I hear about it from engineering teams as well. We don't want a talented jerk. It's we want to hire the right people, and we have whether it's happening on leadership teams where leaders aren't coming in, they're being held accountable, or they're not being held accountable, or just specific things are going on that are causing their talent to leave, and they're going to hemorrhage money. And it's just I'm just like, oh my gosh, this needs to be solved. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's a complicated problem. I mean, I've been through it many times in my career, obviously. And the reason why that it's complicated is because, obviously small companies are small companies. They're very volatile. They are very sensitive to different shocks that they face on a day-to-day basis. And what tends to happen is that when you have someone who is, technically brilliant, and, either has institutional knowledge that they can't, um, transfer to others, or that person, holds the cards or holds certain keys to the organization in terms of IP, product, whatever it might be. It's really difficult to overlook some of those things that make this person absolute jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it over and over again. But the impact of that, of keeping that person on staff, obviously there are benefits in terms of the technical parts of it. But then the downside is that, as you sort of alluded to, is that it has almost like a cancerous effect on the entire organization for those people that are having to work with this person or not. It spread like a cancer. Not only does it spread internally, it also spreads externally to customers. It spreads to potentially investors. It spreads also to future job prospects as well, because your employer brand starts to take a massive hit. So this one cancerous jerk can really have a negative impact. And so it takes leaders to have a lot of courage to say, what, we need to stand by our values and think about our business long term. Yes, by getting rid of this person, there's going to be a bit of a dip somewhere, but the long term effect is going to be positive. And that's what has to happen. And the even more complicated problem is that one of the talented jerks is actually a leader themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really difficult. But then that's where when the board has to step in, or other senior leaders have to step in and make difficult choices. But that's a bit of an overview, I think. Do you have any specific questions on that? I mean,
I think one thing I'm consistently noticing throughout some of the companies I've worked at too, specifically in the past. I'm finding leadership teams taking individual contributors, and so here's the mentality. Basically, I'll be in talent acquisition, and then they'll say, okay, we're going to make this individual contributor, he's really strong, we're going to make him a manager. But the attitude on leadership, right? The VPs are like, okay, we're going to turn them into a manager, and we're going to see how they do. But what they do is they don't get them training. They say, okay, if they're getting into a management position, they have to know it's going to be sink or swim and go seek the resources out themselves. They're a manager now. They should know what to do. And that's the most toxic thing you could possibly do as a leadership team.
Yeah, you basically are setting up someone to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. I mean, there are people out there who have natural sort of leadership abilities, but for the most part, to be a really good leader, a strong leader, it takes years of experience and practice to do well. It's not something that actually happens overnight, and especially with I see in my working with small mid-sized tech companies is that, generally speaking, if you were to rate the entire ecosystem on their leadership capabilities, I don't think I'd give them more than a 4.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's a 3, maybe it's a 5. I mean, who knows, right? So that means that there's a lot of people that are really at the starting point of their journey. Now, here's the thing: those people that are at the starting place, that are self-aware and actually understand that they are at square one and want to learn, want to do better, those are the good ones, right? Those are the ones that you can work with. But if it's the ones that are starting at square one, or even if they've been doing it for a long time but think that they're the best thing ever and they're perfect and they're God to everything, are the ones that have to be careful of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are the ones that you simply can't even work with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not right. So, but having said that, I genuinely think that the majority of people want to do good. They just need help in actually getting there. And it's not just about training. I mean, you can put anybody through training, but once they leave that sort of training environment, they go back to their jobs, and 2 weeks later, they probably have forgotten most of what they soaked up and learned during training. So the kicker is actual adoption. It taking what you learn, practice it over and over and over again, and then have someone actually work with you, like a coach or a mentor, to make sure that you're actually doing it. You're actually embedding it into practice. You're changing behavior. You're changing how you go about doing things. If you want to just do training, that's fine. But I'll guarantee you that the training won't stick. Nothing. You will spend lots of money on glitzy training, and I'm not going to name any names, but there are companies out there who do it, and they say that they make you a better organization, but it's a big fat lie.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
We learn by doing.
Yeah.
You have to hear something, you have to process it, and you have to do certain things to actually practice it, and then make it part of your day-to-day practice. And then you have to be actually accountable to it.
One of the things that I will never forget in my career of running Savant Recruitment, I remember coming to your Scale HR event last February in Toronto. I think there was how many people did you have? 200?
That one was 200. It was a little bit too big, but we had about 200 people. Yeah.
Who was it? Eamon. I think it was Eamon. And he came up and he made a statement in front of the whole entire room of HR professionals. And he said something around the lines of, we need our leaders to start welcoming our HR professional and talent acquisition people into leadership. Actually give us a seat at the table. I can't tell everyone that's watching this right now, the whole room roared. So how do you feel? That was 2023. We're now in 2024. This is still a huge problem. How do you feel like things are shaping up right now in the landscape? Do you think that this is changing? I know that Scale HR is addressing some of these issues with HR burnout, but I want to talk about that. Where do you see 2024 going? Do you see this happening where leaders are going to start opening up and giving us a spot at the table?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that for the most part, HR is there. The biggest problem is that, if you look at most HR practitioners and leaders, is that we don't really typically come from business backgrounds, and that's a problem. And I've seen that shifted and changed, slightly. I came from a business background, and that was always my sort of key focus. And if you're going to be leading or working in a business function, you better know. You better understand business. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's always been an issue with the you're having HR having credibility when they're at that table, because they have to be able to talk to the sales leader, the finance leader, the marketing leader, the product leader, the engineering leader, and on and on. If they can't, then they don't belong, in that room.
Yeah.
They can be technically sound when it comes to HR, but if you don't understand the basics of business, then you have no right being there. Okay, that's the first thing. And so the expectation that they, should automatically be there is, complete bullshit. You need to own it. Okay. And I'm not saying that they haven't earned it. There are many amazing and talented HR leaders out there who are business savvy, and I know them, right? They should be at that table. In fact, they should be the right-hand person to the president or, whoever. HR has been asked, since the pandemic started, to lead organizations through, health and safety, continuity planning, technology, all this kind of stuff. And so, those that, came out the other end and survived, thrive, they should be at that table. And if they're not, there's a problem. So, I understand. I think it'll always be an issue because, so long as HR is not operating as at the level of business savviness that they have to be, they're always, going to be an issue. They have to show business value. They have to demonstrate outcomes and true business value, and that's the only way.
How do you at Scale HR? I mean, I know that you're working with a couple consultants that are working with you to get your HR leaders there, but what exactly are you guys doing or implementing in? I know you're releasing a new program, right? I wanted to chat about that too.
Yeah.
About how you plan to get those HR people there so that they can get that seat at the table and let's start changing some things.
Yeah. So 2023 was the year of the pivot, right? So we pivoted last year. So we used to do all things under the sun with HR, project management, fractional leadership, everything. We pivoted last year. We, decided that we're going to focus on skills development of two audiences. One is leaders, so all across the business, so frontline manager up to senior executive, and two is HR. Okay, and so all of our solutions, everything that we do, has a learning component to it. So different ways of actual learning, whether it be a full-on program that's 6 months long, it can be like an annual community-based roundtable initiative. But everything has training, learning, and practicing, and then coaching and embedded into it. So it's all about adoption. And so we just launched this new program called HR Leaders Connected.
Yeah.
So we're looking for 8 to 12 HR leaders in tech, 8 to 12 in Vancouver, 8 to 12 in Montreal, 8 to 12 in Toronto. We may be opening up a fourth city. I won't name it yet, but it's in Ontario, and we may be doing that as well. And so the idea there is you will be moving through an annual cohort with 8 different sessions that are facilitated by HR, leadership experts, and also 2 national sessions. You'll have opportunity to take part in our HR leaders collective event. So you get to build your career, build a trusted network, and then learn some new skills and then gain confidence. So those are the some of the things that we're also doing as well. And then we also have our one-on-one coaching as well. And so we work directly with HR leaders in tech, coaching, mentorship, and advisory. We'll be launching more stuff in next quarter and future quarters. But the idea here is to work directly with HR leaders to build their careers and skills.
Okay. What are some of the biggest problems that you've seen? We saw a lot happen in 2023. I know we touched on it, but I think maybe the top 3 issues that you're seeing right now in the tech community startup world that the leaders are just not getting it, and top 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. More generally speaking, when you're talking about leadership, it is an investment. It takes time. If organizations are thinking that it's sort of like an overnight, over the weekend, type of a transformation, that's not possible, right? So they have to bake into their day-to-day skill development. It's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing thing. The pace of change is just too rampant. Business is changing. We have AI coming in. Well, it has already come in. That's going to take over, right? Google's already laid off 1,000 employees, and they're going through a transformation. So, I think that tech companies need to understand that. So when they're sort of working through their annual planning processes and strategies and skill development, have to be a huge part of that. And if it's not, they're going to fall further behind. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that when it comes to hiring, especially when it comes to HR, so a lot of smaller tech companies tend to hire, very junior HR leaders, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you have to make sure that they have someone that can work with them, is a mentor to them, one-on-one, on an ongoing basis, because where are they going to get support, development, mentorship from? You can't get it from the CFO. can't get it from head of marketing. And it needs to be a structured relationship. I've seen way too many, HR leaders that are burned out, floundering, and really are just running around, and they're doing certain things, but aren't really adding any huge business value. And so that's a huge problem, and that needs, to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. How do we, I guess, measure success? I mean, when it comes to doing the work that you're doing, I know everyone operates at a different pace, and it could take 3 months, it could take 6 months, it could take a year to ramp someone up. How do you know, if I came to you and I had an employee, like I'm at the point, do we let them go or do we invest in the training? How should I look at situations like that? Right. And obviously you're probably dealing with that right now, is you have leaders coming to you probably questioning, should I let this person go, or is this worth the investment? Should I keep them here and continue to invest? Can we change their mindset?
That's a really complicated question. I mean, you are dealing with, performance management type issues. And, obviously every situation is different, but I think, we tend to, as a human race, just humans in generally speaking, tend to, jump the gun a little bit. Yeah. We spend so much money in hiring and training people, and then we are so quick to say that, this isn't working out. And so, obviously it's just like a series of questions really, that I ask people, and I say, well, have you, communicated with this person? Does this person need extra training? All this kind of stuff. I mean, they need to understand, the full picture. It's much easier to, just to fire someone and then just hire someone new. That's way easier. But it's costly for the business and for continuity perspective, for productivity, everything. So I think really, it starts with the conversation. And yeah, if it's a true, intelligent jerk that, that person can't be worked with, then fire them. Let them go. But if they're genuinely wanting to make a difference, and they're fully, understanding that there's a problem, then you can work with that, right? And if you try to develop them, maybe they're in the wrong job. I don't know. There's lots of things. Oftentimes when companies put people in managerial positions and they've never managed anyone before, well, I know exactly what the problem is. Just to expect that person to just come out of the gate, soaring on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders is a bit unrealistic. That's not even possible. Try transitioning someone's mindset from working on their own, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, to actually now they have to shift and manage others. Yeah. That's a really difficult mind shift.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things that, organizations have to look at, and it's highly complex. But jumping the gun is never the answer.
Yeah. On your plate for 2024, I know that you're already launching a bunch of things, but just to give our viewers, what's up next for Scale HR and how we're going to start improving the tech market and how we're going to come in and really get your leaders trained up. What do you have on the go moving forward? I guess maybe, within the next quarter, what are you going to be announcing?
So right now, our flagship program is called Leadership Activated, which is 8 modules. Each module is delivered every couple of weeks, either virtually or in person. We train by groups, so you get to learn with your peers, and then we actually assign you a coach. So that coach actually works with you every single module. After every module is completed, to help you actually adopt new skills. So that is our flagship program. We built it with tech SMBs in mind, for small businesses, and we're also deeply connected into the Canada Ontario Job Grant, as well as various other provincial grant program, Alberta, BC, and then soon to be Quebec. So really, there's no excuse for organizations not to, be able to invest the resources and time. It is a long-term journey, right? So that's our huge push, for this year. As I mentioned, we just launched HR Leaders Connected. That is for HR leaders in tech, and you have to be leading, the HR function for your organization. And so we are looking for people in Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. And really that is a huge program to build career, build confidence, build a trusted network of peers, and just have the, ability to learn. Upcoming programs that we're launching, one is going to be managing people with disabilities. That's going to be coming out this year, as well as inclusive leadership. And we are working on another one that is going to be about leading a multicultural team. So the big trend over the last few years, obviously, is just hiring people over the world. And say you're a 60-person company with the lion's share of your employees here in Canada, you may have a couple in Colombia, a couple overseas in Asia, a couple here, a couple there. And so how do you engage all of those people in a virtual world across time zone? So we're all be coming up with more training around that as well. And we're also relaunching our learning community, online learning community that I've called Grow. So we launched it quietly last summer, but we'll be revamping it, relaunching it by April 1st. And we have over 250 members in the community right now. And our goal is to double that. So lots going on right now. How long
have you been doing this for? I just want to set the stage.
What, HR?
How long have you been doing Scale HR for?
Oh my God, I really want to know.
Yeah, I do.
I started my career in June of 2000.
Yeah. Okay.
24 years.
Yeah.
And
how many people? Yeah, how many startups would you say that you've helped throughout that time? Like, I want a number.
Well, I haven't always worked with small companies, but in the last 15 years, I probably touched, worked with, advised, probably 100, maybe close to 100, maybe not quite, but mostly in the tech industry, nonprofit, marketing services, and so on. But I think small companies are the lifeblood of our business community, and quite frankly, they employ millions of people, and they take on a lot of risk.
Yeah.
And they're always moving and shifting and, tweaking their strategies and making really, really difficult choices. And I think that is, truly exciting. Technology is a huge part of that. And, but at the same time, we're still running company, organization.
Yeah.
They need to be run properly.
Yeah.
And they need to do it with, empathy and, treating people right. So, I mean, it's, I think it's sort of a lifelong journey for me. And I think 2023 was the year of the pivot and survival. This year is the year of hope.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I feel hopeful.
I totally hear that.
Yeah.
Your reach. So I know you've been working in the United States as well, right? So I just want to preface that for everyone that's watching. It's like, it's not just Canada, it's the United States. It's like, I feel like it's just wherever you can add value, wherever like you'll look at the startup.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work in the States. Although last year when I pivoted Scale HR, the focus was on Canada first.
Yeah.
And then I think at some point we'll then sort of refocus our energies on other markets as well, whether it be, the US, Europe and Australasia, which I've been working on a couple of opportunities in, the Middle East, and then Australia as well. Those are always, it's always kind of exciting to sort of, venture into new markets. I mean, companies are companies, they're all made up of people. What's different about them is, some of the standards and sort of cultural norms. But that's what, makes it exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. For all our viewers that are watching right now, like, again, I want to say this, like, I can't do the work that I do in talent acquisition and recruitment if I didn't have people like Jeff, not only cheerleading my company, but also doing the work that he does in the HR space. Like, it is so, so, so needed. And I just feel like there's such a big disconnect, and like Jeff is the answer to a lot of the issues that are happening in the tech. I do, because there's only so much I can do. Yes, I can come in and advise and do the talent acquisition side, but there's so much more that we need to be doing with leaders. And that's why I wanted to kind of have this discussion with you, because we did see a lot of problems in 2023, and just this is a no-brainer. And for, you know, my whole entire network, whether you're in Communitech or another accelerator, wherever you are, if you run a company and you're thinking about talent acquisition, like hand in hand, you need to be thinking about your leaders and leadership training and what that means, and constantly investing, because I can't come into a company and say, I'm going to provide services. And then I know, Jeff, I know that you're not a big fan of, you know, Glassdoor or Fishbowl, and I know your thoughts on that. But the thing is if I see a company and it's abysmal reviews, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to recruit talent to your business. Good luck. We should have gotten this started, you know, however. But that's another conversation. I'm just saying, for me, it's very difficult to do that if, you know, Glassdoor is pumping out, yeah, leadership's atrocious and da 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 da.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, look, don't forget that what you do is you focus on one part of the employee journey,
Yeah.
right? So you focus on the hiring part of it, so, like, I mean, all the way to the person starting work,
Yeah.
right? You don't touch anything else. Now the problem is that, say you do like a bang up job,
Yeah.
top notch, all of your clients, boom, but the leadership group is shit. What's going to happen? Your beautiful hire that fit and had a great experience and everything else is going to say, wait a minute here, the employee experience is the opposite of what I just had. So
I just want to pause you there right now, though, because I was an onboarding manager in one of my positions, I am starting to offer onboarding as well. I've created a template for the founders, and I've said, listen, and I've created a YouTube video, and I'm like, watch this.
Oh, fantastic.
Watch this before you even touch me as a recruiter. The first 30 to 90 days are obviously integral, but what happens after that, I can't, I want you to keep your hire, right? Onboarding is just only one component of it. I want 100%. Them to keep it, but yeah, again.
You're absolutely correct. And so that's why, HR is so broad and so important. But I also think too that there are so many amazing HR leaders out there that are, working in tech. And so I know most of them. And then, the reason for that is because, it really does take a full community to really make change or to do good work. And so that's why I have all of my events, that I run. And so I have a rule that every event that I run has brand new speakers, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't normally bring back the same speaker twice. So, and the reason for that is because it's really important, to hear from different voices and, different opinions and perspectives. And so, I think, but I really believe that in order for an organization to really progress and grow, it's not just about talking about something. They have to actually do it, mm-hmm. practice it, change their behavior, adopt it, all those types of things. And I think for most people who know me, I always talk about adoption. It's about adopting new ways of doing things, new skills, new thinking, all of that kind of stuff. If you're talking about it is a starting point, but the hard work is really to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so that needs to be a heavy focus in, basically everything you do. The best people at it right now are engineers. Yeah. Software, developers. They're always constantly building their skills. We have to take that kind of mindset and then approach to other parts of the business too.
Yeah, so. Always be testing. And that's something that I tell, the companies that I work with too, is that I had to take that approach as well when I started my business. And yeah, it's just the always be testing mindset. With that, I know it's 35 minutes in here, but I would like to, I know we've been talking for a long time. I would like to.
I can go on for another half hour. Yeah,
no, it's fun. It's fun. We could talk about this all day. I just want to preface, sure. When Jeff holds an event, it's sold out. So for anyone, very, very popular events because he's coming in, adding a lot of value, and we're touching on very serious issues that are happening right across. So it's just like we're having real and honest conversations about what's going on in this space and how we need to tackle it and address it and provide a solution. So, on
that note, I just want to say, so I'm running 6 social HR camp events this year. There might be a 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And what's been interesting about the first 4 of them is that I always reach out to, the local community, just ask them, what do you want to see? And overwhelmingly, it's all been about AI, like AI adoption. Like, how do I make sure that I'm ready for that?
Mm-hmm.
How do I make sure that my company, can transform itself and actually adopt AI?
Yeah.
How do I use AI for hiring? How do I use AI for this and that? So that's going to be a huge theme. And so we're running our first Canadian one in Ottawa on May 9th. And then a week later, I'll be in Austin, Texas. And then Toronto with June 20th. And then I'll be in Montreal and Vancouver later this year. So I really believe that this is going to be the year of, generative AI, AI adoption, and just trying to figure that out. And it's much more than just, chat, GPT or Google Bard or whatever the other ones are. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, we're completely backed by AI as well. So it's just, the stat that we had from, I think, October 2023, I pulled it from one of the major news articles here in Canada, that we're sitting at a 4% adoption rate just in Canada alone. But then someone else recently in the AI network told me it was sitting at 26, which is still very, very, very low. And I'm sitting here kind of like, I feel like we could be a little bit better on this trend. And now today I saw come up on LinkedIn that Canada's finally formed a partnership with NVIDIA. So I'm like, okay, it's about time, right? So I'm excited to see what happens and how Canada can start pushing AI forward. We really need this. And I just hope that people start adopting it, but like ethically, obviously. It needs to be ethical AI.
Well, that's a really difficult thing, because obviously it's up to the solution platform, to make sure that it's ethical.
Yeah.
The common user doesn't have the ability to, assess whether or not it's actually ethical or not, or if it's inclusive of, all of these types of things. So it's a real challenge. But I think, like I said many years ago with technology, if you're not taking a chance and actually jumping into the game, then you will be left behind.
And
so I think you need to have some faith and just sort of go all in. And but I think the hard part now is that most companies are using a whole bunch of different tools, right? For HR, for TA, whatever. And how do those platforms, like, are they evolving to actually accept and to integrate AI, or do you have to shift, your whole HR tech stack? How do you do that? There's a lot of questions. So I think it's difficult, but we're going to be tackling it head on. And
for sure. Okay. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today, have a discussion, talk about, our partnership and kind of what you're doing here, because what you're doing is so, so, so important. I cannot stress that. And I wanted to make sure that like your voice was heard, obviously, and just everyone, we need to be talking to Jeff. We need to be talking to him. So, yeah.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But, thank you for, offering this sort of concept up. So I'm Jeff. I'm actually the host of this podcast, Unmuted, but today we did a little bit of a sort of a, 180. So, Jessica, became the host. I became the guest, but we are going to share this on our YouTube channels at some point. So this is all about, what was the title again? The podcast? We have to make one up.
We have to make one up, but you know what? It's okay. Hey, if you guys got value from this, then that's all that matters, right? So we touched on different topics, but really, it's about Scale HR. It's about leadership. It's about, how we're going to move forward in 2024 and build productive teams. This isn't just talent acquisition now. This is building out your leadership teams and how to make sure your company's set up for the next 10 years, next 20 years, 100%. Not the next 5 years if you're not adopting AI and all that stuff. So Jeff's a huge asset. He's a huge asset to any company, and that's it. That's all.
Same to you.
Pardon?
Same to you.
Yeah, well, I am too, but this is about you. This is about you, right? This is why we're partnered. I'm here to shine the spotlight here, and we got to just make sure that, startups and tech companies are, thinking about these things so that, everything's really going to be an investment, but I'd rather you invest money and be successful than hemorrhage money because you're losing talent in the States because you're not doing enough.
Yeah, I mean, just one way to sort of look at this as well is that, say you have a team of 40 people and your employee engagement is in the toilet, and it's largely driven by the leaders or lack of it. Just imagine.
Yeah.
First of all, you are dealing with a productivity issue.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a potential attention problem. Mm-hmm. Then you have to start dealing with hiring costs again.
Yeah.
It just has like a ripple effect.
And your clients, your customers, that's the biggest thing. Like that's how you're making money in the companies. So and I always say your employees are like partly your biggest customers. You don't just, yes, they're your employees. I get that. We have that mindset, but they are your customers. They are 100%. Affecting your brand. So if they're not happy, your customers aren't going to be happy.
100%. So that's why, leadership skill, need to be strong. And then if they're not, then you need to be really investing in that. And it needs to be ongoing, and there are different ways to do that. And, we've done a ton of research, obviously, over the last 20 years. And we've, I built different products and services over the years. And then, the cool thing about that is that I've been able to take all of the good and the bad and kind of mush it together. There will be some other announcements coming out toward the latter half of this year.
Yeah.
As to what we're planning for next year. But I'm really excited about where, this is going. And
Me too. I'm excited to be on this ride with you and celebrate.